What's up everyone, back for another beer review, and today I'll be reviewing yet another beer from the Sierra Nevada Brewing Company, and they're out of Chico, California and Mills River, North Carolina, and this is their Trip in the Woods, the Pecan Pie variant. So this is a stout aged in bourbon barrels with vanilla bean and pecans. It comes in at 12.5% alcohol by volume, 24 IBUs at the time of review. And this can is just under 3.5 months old. I want to give a huge thanks, a shout out once again to a very good friend of mine and a viewer of the channel, Billy, for this beer. So big thanks to him. In the description box, I'll post a link to the beer mail unboxing video I did that contains all the goodies that Billy sent my way, and he sent me a boatload of awesome beer, including 4 different special releases. Well, 3 of them were special releases. The other one was just like a regular release. And this is the 4th and a final of all the Sierra Nevada beers that he sent my way. Did I save the best for last? I hope so. So I've had a handful of the Trip in the Woods beers over the years, but it's been a while since I've had one. I love pecan pies. This sounds awesome. I'm pretty sure this was another one of those brewery/online only releases from Sierra Nevada. And they do have a spiel here that I'll read off on Tapped, which I think ripped from their website. I can't read this off their website, however, because it is no longer available in their web store. It must have sold out, so you just can't find it on their website on their online store. Anyway, it says Pecan Pie. Part of our Trip in the Woods series is a decadent brew crafted from scratch like the best homemade treats. First, we aged an Imperial Stout in bourbon barrels for over 2 years. Then we took over our big room kitchen, loading pecans 1 baking sheet at a time and toasting them until the pile was 400 pounds. The toasted pecans and whole vanilla beans went right into our custom dry hopping device, the Hop Torpedo. And then for 3 straight days, the barrel-aged beer flowed out of the tank, surged through the Hop Torpedo, and returned to the tank to supercharge the flavors. And then they just have tasting notes, which I won't read or even really entertain the thought of looking at. So yeah, it sounds like they did a pretty cool thing. Their Hop Torpedo is where they get their Torpedo IPA and whatnot. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to this. I love pecan pies, as I stated, and I just think this sounds absolutely phenomenal. I'm hoping they did a pretty good job with it. That oatmeal cookie stout that I reviewed recently was just kind of, it was solid, decent, even good, but it was kind of underwhelming. So I'm hoping this one is more, in the realm of what I'm hoping for. Anyway, let's give it a pour here. Ooh, it's looking a little bit thin pouring out. You probably won't be able to tell on camera, but it does have like more of a dark brown color than anything. And everything is fizzing away. Anyway, we'll throw this over here like that. And yeah, anyway, let's look at that. So it isn't really fizzing away, it just sounds like it. So try to give you guys a better look at this if you can see this. Yeah, it's kind of coming off exactly how it looks on camera. Let me see if you can see this, if you can see through there anything. I don't know if you'll be able to see what I'm seeing exactly. I'm trying to see where I can just get my face out of the way for you guys. Move it more this way, I guess. Yeah. Yeah, it's not really, you can't really see, but it's more of a dark brown. When I poured it out, definitely dark brown. Had about almost a 2 finger, now a single finger of this beautiful like mocha colored head. It was fizzing away, still is very slightly, but it had a decent carbonation that you could hear. Murky, turbid, it doesn't have a lot of clarity, but then again, it is a dark brown. Let's get a nose. Ooh. Not quite pecan pies, but smells awesome. So the first thing I'm actually getting, despite all of these different, the vanilla beans and the pecans, I'm getting a huge blast of like, I'd say like bourbon drizzled like chocolate. Very rich, sweet, dark chocolate. Not like a 50, 60, 70% cacao bar, like a sweet, like better quality than probably a Hershey special dark chocolate, but just like a nice, like your favorite local chocolatier, whatever their dark chocolate is, that's what this smells like. But again, huge barrel. It's the vanilla probably coming from the vanilla beans, but it's vanilla, it's oak, it's like a peppery bourbon, a sweeter bourbon. Not getting a lot of pecans. There might be a slight generic nuttiness in here. Some nice dark fruits like plums and figs and raisins. Maybe even a little bit of a dark cherry, but that's the default for me when it comes to, if you know it, if you go back and look at like any Imperial Stout reviews, if I don't say dark cherry or sweet dark cherry at least 9% of the time, then something wrong with me. Now I'm starting to get maybe a little bit of the pecans, more of a nuttiness opening up. Yeah, so I've never had it, I don't think, but like if you had a chocolate covered pecan that's like has a bourbon drizzle or something like that, I mean, or like a bourbon filled dark chocolate. I don't know, I'm all over the place. It smells really good. Doesn't smell necessarily like pecan pies, but it smells like a nice pastry-esque version of a huge barrel-aged Imperial Stout. 12.5%. Nah. Let's get into it. Cheers, everybody. Thanks again, Billy. Ooh. I'm absolutely surprised at the body and mouthfeel because it poured out thin. It looked thin. It is not thin. Definitely boozy. You don't hear me say that a lot, and it's funny because, you know, when I did All Imperial Beer Theme Month in January of 2025, I was reviewing everything was 8% or higher. And I realized that, like, the booze really doesn't affect me as much because I typically drink a beer every single day. And some of them are big ABV, high octane beers. And I have a lot of people come to the channel and be like, oh, that 8% beer, it was too boozy for me, or that 8.5% beer. And I'm in my own mind, I'm thinking like, wow, really? But then again, not everyone's drinking imperialized beers that often. So I totally get that at this point. But this is one of the first I've had in a while where it's like, it's definitely boozy. Like, it's noticeable on the palate. However, the body and mouthfeel are spectacular. Body is full bodied. It's getting to the point where it's thick and chewy, but doesn't quite reach there. So it has a nice like oily viscosity to it. It's almost like syrup-esque, but maybe not to that level, but it's really big. I'm super surprised. Almost fudgy. And it's weird because I don't know if I've ever experienced this. Even when I take that first sip, I'm like, wow, this is a little watery. But then as it passes through, I keep it in the mouth for a couple seconds. It's like, no, this is actually thick, Joe. It is definitely not watery. So yeah, I'd say full-bodied on this one. Has a slickness and oily kind of feeling to it. It's fudgy to some degree. The mouthfeel, it has a good carbonation. It's approaching moderate, but man, it has this beautiful creaminess as well. And it's smooth on the second half of the palate. As it goes through the palate, that carbonation and that spritzy kind of vibe dies out and it's just very smooth on the second half of the palate. So the body and mouthfeel are absolutely incredible. And honestly, they're the shining stars of this beer. Like, to me, the body and mouthfeel just make me want to drink this, period. The taste, first thing it hits me, roasted malt in conjunction with that sweet dark chocolate I was talking about in the nose. It's a beautiful roasty dark chocolate vibe to it. There's a little bit of like a lightly roasted coffee, some of that dark fruit I was talking about, more of the sweet dark cherry, raisins, plums, figs, sweeter, almost like, I want to say, I don't want to say candied exactly as far as the dark fruits are going, but more like a dried fruit. So you get the like full-on sweetness. That's kind of what I'm digging out of from this beer with the dark fruit character. That's the first half, maybe first 2/3 of the palate. As it finishes, though, the barrel hits, and it is a boozy, peppery bourbon, sweeter caramel toffee. There's a little bit of that nuttiness from the pecans. The vanilla and oak really hit on the finish. I get that dry oak tannin finish. It's almost full-on dry. This has a mild bitterness, a little bit of like an earthy hop bitterness, but more so dry than bitter. This is a beer that is, I like to say, pastry-esque, right? Like a lot of places will put out beers like this. They don't call them necessarily pastry stouts or anything remotely close to that. Just be like, oh, this is pecan pie. So in my mind, hey, you're going for a pecan pie in beer form. It's a pastry stout. It definitely is. However, it's pastry-esque in how it's delivered to the palate. It's not full-on pastry. You get hints of the nuttiness. I wouldn't say full-on pecan pie. I do get some of the vanilla, the chocolates there. It has a lot of pastry-esque qualities without going over the top with the sweetness, the decadent kind of richness that you can get from a beer like this. It does a good job balancing it out to some degree, which I think is what my preference is nowadays. I don't want over-the-top sweetness. Otherwise, I'm not finishing this can. As is, definitely going to finish this can. Might save a little bit for pops, but I'm going to drink at least what's left in my glass because it's pretty damn delicious. This beer has, it's grown on me over the past 5 to 10 minutes reviewing it. From first sip to last sip, it has changed quite a bit in how I perceive this beer and what I think about this beer as a whole. And that happens sometimes. As I continue to drink on it, I'm getting more nuances. And this came right out of my darker beer fridge at 54 degrees Fahrenheit. So this wasn't cold to begin with. It's cool, but not cold. It's still, the flavors are opening up. But even as I drink this and it comes to room temperature over the next half an hour or so, there's probably more that's going to come to the forefront. I will say that the barrel, despite being, aged for 2 years, is not overwhelming. I like that the adjuncts are more subtle and nuanced than like in your face. It's pretty well balanced. I'd say the one thing that is really stopping me from absolutely loving this beer is that it doesn't taste necessarily like pecan pies. I'm not getting any kind of crustiness you would get with a pecan pie. The pecan character is more of a generic like pecan as opposed to like the sweet pecans you get in a pecan pie and just the caramelized sugars and everything. But it does have a little bit of that caramel, toffee, brown sugar type of feel to it. Rating's kind of tough for this one. I'm not going to give it 2 ratings. I'm just going to rate it based on what I feel about this beer. After the aroma and then the first sip, I was honestly thinking at best this would get like a high 4 or maybe a low 4.25, like a 4.1, 4.15. It's kind of won me over a bit more than that as I continue to drink on it. It's not my favorite of the ones that Billy sent my way. I think the s'more one is probably my favorite. But this has gotten a little bit better over the course of the review. I think it'll maybe get a little bit better as I drink it off camera. I don't know. As is, though, it's a nice pastry-esque barrel-aged Imperial Stout. I dig it. Not too heavy-handed with the adjuncts, the barrel characters here, the base beers here. It's pretty damn good. So Trip in the Woods, the Pecan Pie variant. I'm going to give this a... we'll go straight 4.25. I think that's a fair rating, I think, overall. 4.25. All right, price point availability. This is where I said availability, like availability, yes, but like Billy? The price point, I don't know, because it's no longer on their website, but I would guess if that s'more narwhal, toasted s'more narwhal, or barrel-aged toasted s'more narwhal was $6 a can, came in 8 packs for like $48 or whatever, I would assume this is probably in that same realm, where it's $50, so $6.25 a can, probably same realm, probably $6.50 a can. That's fine. It's 12.5%, a couple different adjuncts, barrel aged for 2 years. Even if it was like upwards of $7 to $8 a can, I'd still be okay with it. So Billy, if you remember what you paid for it, please let me know in the comments section. And the availability, like I said, I'm pretty sure this is brewery/online only. I could be wrong, so somebody correct me if I am wrong, but pretty sure this is one of those ones they throw them on the website. You got to buy them, and they ship to certain states. So if you can get beer from Sierra Nevada via their website, you would have been able to get this one when it was available. It doesn't seem like it's available as we speak. Here in New York State, no. Sierra Nevada does not ship here from their website. We do get their beers. We just do not get anything that's available on their website, which is a bummer. So if you've had this one before or any other Trip in the Woods beers or even some Pecan Pie beers, let me know what your favorites are. I'd love to hear from you. Please post in the comment section. 12.5%. I didn't really touch on it after the initial couple sips, but it is boozy. There's a nice warming in my chest. There is a booziness on the palate. It's, dare I say, hot. Even in my stomach, I feel it. Is it over the top? No, but I think it's appropriate for the ABV, but it's still a lot of 12, 13, 14% beers don't drink exactly like it. This drinks like it's 12.5%. Like if you told me this was even 13, 13.5, I'd be like, yes. If you told me it was 11, 11.5, sure. But it definitely has a pronounced booziness to it. It's not detracting me from enjoying it, but it's definitely making me take my time with it a little bit more. Like I said, I was going to keep the rest for my dad. I don't know now. Maybe I will. We'll see. I don't know. But I might drink the rest of this because I do enjoy it. So anyway, I'm going to shut this one down. Huge thanks to Billy. Thanks to everybody who stopped by for another beer review here on the Beer Patrol. To the next one. Cheers.